The work on Sodor doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Many jobs still need to be done. Thomas and Percy puff quietly across the island, delivering the mail to every station. Gordon takes a late-night express to the mainland. James takes small goods and work trains to where they are needed. And Henry pulls the flying kipper. The engines don't always pull these trains, of course. Sometimes other jobs take importance. But there is one job none of the engines like: the scrap runs. Every engine dreaded going to the scrapyard. The sounds, lights, and sights are enough to make any engine's boiler run cold. No one liked this place, but the jobs needed to be done. One night, Gordon, Henry, and James were at the big station waiting to leave. "Whenever that owl hoots, a mist rolls in," said Henry warily. "Don't be daft," retorted James. "I'm not," replied Henry. "I was giving you a warning." "Please," said Gordon. "First the rain, now this. Whatever else are you afraid of?" "Don't say I didn't warn you," Henry remarked, and he left with his train. "Henry's being silly," said Gordon. "It's supposed to be clear all night." But he was wrong. A fog rolled in. It wasn't very thick, but it forced James to go slower. He soon arrived at the scrapyard. The fog gave everything an eerie look. "Nothing to fear, it's just fog," he assured himself. He shunted the train and was ready to leave. His driver and fireman went to check with the yardmaster before they left. James was alone. "This is fine, nothing to worry about. Henry was being silly," he thought to himself, but he still felt nervous. Suddenly, he heard a puffing sound. "Hello?" he said nervously. There was no reply. Then, out of the mist came a shape. It looked like an engine, but there was no face. It rolled closer and closer to James. He became frightened and frantic. "Help! Help!" he whistled. His crew returned and James shot away before the figure could reach him. The next day, James confided in Gordon. "The ghost train! I saw it!" "Nonsense, you were just imagining things." "I was not," he said sternly. "Really?" quizzed Gordon. "Then I'll come with you tonight and show you there's nothing to be afraid of." The two engines arrived at the scrapyard with James in front and Gordon behind. The fog had rolled in again. "Pah, this fog is nothing. See, it's just a scrapyard," Gordon puffed. "It's not nothing. I'll show you where I saw it." "Fine," Gordon agreed reluctantly. They arrived back where James last saw the figure. The fog swirled around them and mixed with their steam. It was hard to see. Gordon scoffed, but then they heard something. "That's what I heard last night." "Who's there?" called Gordon. Again, there was no reply. Then, the figure began to emerge from the fog next to them. "Goodness gracious!" shouted Gordon. A whistle rang out. Gordon and James whistled in fear. "Let's get out of here!" But before they could, they heard a familiar grumbling voice.
Come on, you piece of junk.
Oh, hello, James. Hello, Gordon. What are you two doing here? Gordon and James were stunned. They looked at the ghost train, then behind it again. So it wasn't a ghost train, sighed James. It was only Henry moving this piece of scrap. Ghost train? Mused Henry. You two were so scared of the fog that you thought this old scrap engine was a ghost. Well, you see, we didn't actually think it was a ghost. We thought that, but it was too late to explain themselves. Henry laughed and laughed. From that day on, Gordon and James didn't tease Henry about being scared. They know that anyone and everyone can get scared, and that's okay. And that there's no such thing as ghost trains.